At present, I live with my parents, which may imply that finding an affordable living arrangement could be easier for someone else. This thought comes to light, especially after realizing that my husband, whom I had once believed would be my source of happiness, was exploiting me. The betrayal didn't stop with him. It also extended to his parents, leaving me astounded by their lack of awareness. I pondered who would cover the expenses if they decided to remove me from the picture. This led me to conclude that maintaining familial ties with them was futile. Prompted by this realization, I took immediate action, contacting the necessary parties to start making arrangements. In a significant move, I arranged for a service to collect all the household appliances. Following this, I made another call the next day to have them pick up all the furniture as well. This sudden action caused my husband, Dennis, panic and call out for me in desperation. My name is Cheryl Jean, a 33-year-old who has been telecommuting since completing college. I only need to travel to the office once a month thanks to my employer's flexibility, which is crucial because I am a wheelchair user due to a motorcycle accident in my college years. A car hit me from behind, launching me into the air, and although I survived without life-threatening injuries, my legs were permanently affected. Despite ongoing rehabilitation, it's unlikely that my condition will improve. For a long time, I believed that my disability would mean a life of solitude. However, the longing for companionship and marriage eventually returned. It was through a blind date set up by friends that I met Dennis, who is 3 years my senior. His youthful appearance belied his age, but it was his candidness and curiosity about my condition that caught me off guard. Unlike others, he wasn't hesitant to ask direct questions about how I manage daily tasks, which I found refreshing. His genuine interest led us to date and eventually become a couple, and his proposal after 8 months filled me with joy. However, the dynamics shifted dramatically after our marriage. We moved into a rental house I had been living in, chosen for its accessibility features. Despite its higher rent, its adaptability for wheelchair users and space-use layout were perfect for my needs. Dennis seemed to appreciate these aspects, yet when it came to household responsibilities, his support was lacking. Even simple requests for assistance were met with excuses, highlighting a growing disparity in our partnership. This narrative captures the journey of overcoming personal and relational challenges, highlighted by moments of realization and decisive action in the face of adversity and betrayal. Navigating life with my disability, I've developed a system that allows me a measure of independence, though tasks invariably require more time. While living by myself, a caregiver's assistance was necessary twice a week, mainly for bathing, leaving me to manage on my own the remainder of the time. I often wished Dennis, my husband, would offer his help to make the process quicker. However, after moving in together, Dennis deemed the caregiver's visits an unnecessary expense, insisting I could manage alone. As I attempted to adapt to this new arrangement, I encountered additional challenges. The bathroom, designed with accessibility in mind, became an obstacle course after Dennis used it. He'd leave the bath bucket out and shampoo bottles scattered on the floor, making my already difficult task even more time-consuming. Despite my request for him to be more considerate, Dennis remained indifferent, asserting that the house's design should suffice for my needs. His lack of empathy was disheartening, especially since the house was chosen for its accessibility features due to my wheelchair use. Dennis's initial enthusiasm for the house and its amenities, including the electronics and furniture I had invested in, hinted at his underlying motives. His complaints about the handrails and modifications made for accessibility revealed his true feelings. It became clear that Dennis's decision to marry me was influenced more by the benefits of my home and my ability to manage household chores, despite my disability, rather than genuine affection. This realization was compounded by the recognition of Dennis's behavior since we began dating. He was jobless, frequently out partying, and increasingly reliant on me financially. When I sought advice from Dennis's mother, hoping for some support, she invariably sided with her son, attributing his actions to needing a break and the indulgence of being an only child. This left me feeling isolated, with nowhere to turn, as my parents were no longer alive. Confiding in friends about my situation didn't offer solace either. Their responses often minimized my struggles, suggesting they envied my problems without understanding their depth. Dennis's reaction to my seeking advice from his mother only further demonstrated his irresponsibility and unwillingness to address our issues, leaving our relationship in a state of tension and me questioning the foundation upon which our marriage was built. Despite the love that must have existed at some point for us to have married, the realization of being exploited and neglected was a painful truth to confront. Whenever Dennis faced disappointment, he would vanish, only to return in the early hours, intoxicated and louder than the dawn. "I'm home, love," he'd announce, heedless of the quiet around us. "Quiet down, Dennis. You'll wake the neighbors," I'd whisper, only to be met with a slurred rebuke. "Don't tell me what to do." In his drunken state, Dennis was beyond reason, leaving me no choice but to endure his outbursts in silence. I could feel my patience wearing thin, yet the fear of solitude gnawed at me, making the idea of leaving seem just as unbearable as staying. The situation took a sharp turn when Dennis, quite unexpectedly, proposed that his parents should move in with us. "They're coming to live here," he stated as if the decision was already made, leaving me astounded. While I understood the desire to be close to one's parents as they age, his were perfectly healthy and had their own home. Why uproot them to our already full space? But Dennis dismissed my concerns, accusing me of selfishness. Unable to see the impracticality of 4 adults sharing a space designed for less, especially with my need for a quiet work environment and the additional time I require for daily tasks due to my disability. Despite my hesitation, Dennis wasted no time. By the weekend, his parents were visiting, with discussions of the move seemingly well underway without my input. Then, Dennis dropped a bombshell, suggesting I move into a care facility to make room for them. "It's for the best," he claimed. "They'll take care of everything there." It was a wake-up call. Not only did he want his parents to move in, but he was also ready to send me away, visiting from time to time. This proposal shook me to my core. Am I nothing more than someone to be discarded? I questioned, the absurdity of the situation becoming painfully clear. Dennis's response was even more shocking, devoid of any pretense of affection. "When did I say I loved you, Cheryl?" His words, cold and blunt, revealed the extent of his manipulation and lack of genuine affection for me. It was a realization that hit hard, forcing me to acknowledge that I had allowed things to reach this point. But it was what Dennis said next that was truly unfathomable. He declared that he intended to live in the house with his parents, relegating me, his wife, to the status of an outsider, suggesting I reside in a cheap facility. His parents, far from offering any support, seemed amused by the situation, their reactions adding insult to injury. It dawned on me that perhaps they had all viewed my home as a target long before Dennis and I exchanged vows. The rapid escalation of these events was alarming. I knew I had to take action. "Please leave," I found myself saying, a plea for them to exit my life as much as my home. Dennis's indignant response, defending his parents over our marital bond, solidified my resolve. It was clear that the time had come for me to reclaim my space and my dignity, regardless of the daunting prospect of starting anew. Seeing Dennis's true nature unveiled in his outburst of anger left me reeling. His fervor in demanding his parents move in made me question his priorities. Why couldn't he take the initiative to support them financially or provide them with a home of their own? Instead, he seemed intent on claiming mine. My frustration boiled over, feeling as if my mind was engulfed in flames. His mother attempted to diffuse the tension, suggesting their visit was merely to inspect the house, as if their decision to move in was already final. Their casual remarks about the house's amenities and their blatant entitlement to my space were infuriating. Amidst my attempts to stay calm, a troubling thought crossed my mind. How did they plan to manage financially without me? With Dennis only working part-time and his parents on a pension, I was the one shouldering the heavy financial responsibilities, including the hefty monthly rent of $3,500. Were they under the illusion that Dennis was the provider? Left alone after they departed, Dennis's parting words, asserting his unilateral decision as the man of the house, left me in shock. However, I quickly shifted into action mode, contacting a real estate agent to begin the process of extricating myself from this untenable situation. Dennis's absence that night, likely spent celebrating with his parents, gave me the clarity and determination to sort through my belongings, separating what was necessary from what was not. Upon his return, Dennis's surprise at my decisiveness and the revelation of my intent to divorce signaled a turning point. His incredulity at my actions exposed his assumptions about our relationship and my dependency on him. Dennis's reaction to the divorce proposal revealed his deep-seated arrogance and misconceptions. He had underestimated my independence and resilience, mistakenly believing I would remain in an unhappy marriage out of fear of being alone due to my disability. This underestimation of my strength and capability became his undoing. As the conversation progressed, Dennis's demeanor shifted from disbelief to desperation. Unable to comprehend my willingness to embrace singleness over a life of discontent with him, His panic was palpable, a stark contrast to the confidence he had once exuded. This confrontation marked a significant transformation in my self-perception. I was no longer the passive partner willing to tolerate disrespect and neglect. Announcing my plans to move out and proceed with the divorce, I saw Dennis's attitude change from arrogance to anxiety. His offer to delay my departure, under the guise of concern, was a last-ditch effort to maintain control. However, my resolve was firm, and I had already secured a new place to live. This moment of empowerment was a turning point, liberating me from the weight of a marriage that had become a source of constant strain. As Dennis scrambled to adjust to the new reality, his true character was laid bare. My decision to leave, driven by a newfound assertiveness, marked the beginning of a journey towards reclaiming my independence and dignity. Dennis's behavior became more frustrating by the day, yet I remained undeterred, my plans for independence firmly in place. I had already been considering my future well before our paths crossed, eyeing a particular living facility that offered the comfort and autonomy of a condominium. My foresight during a hospital recovery led me to dive into investment literature, opting to diversify my portfolio across stocks and real estate with the combination of my earnings and an inheritance from my parents. Unbeknownst to Dennis, I had purchased this facility and had been leasing it out, a secret asset I never disclosed to him. Dennis's plea to reconsider our separation, suggesting we could coexist with his parents, only highlighted his inability to grasp the situation. Despite his insistence, the thought of remaining in such a stifling arrangement was unthinkable to me. His accusations of selfishness when faced with my resolve to leave were ironic, given his self-centeredness. His silence following my refusal revealed his contemplation, though it was clear he struggled to accept the inevitable. When Dennis finally acquiesced to a divorce, it seemed motivated more by resignation than understanding, perhaps under the illusion that life with his parents would alleviate him from domestic duties. His return to his parents to plan his next steps, urging me to expedite my departure, only confirmed his detachment from the reality of our crumbling marriage. My move was swift, finalizing within a week, during which Dennis was conspicuously absent. Our next encounter came as I was settling into my new residence. Dennis's confusion at the near-empty state of our former home was palpable, his agitation growing upon learning that I had arranged for the removal of the furniture and appliances, all of which were mine before our marriage. The only belongings I left behind were contained in 3 cardboard boxes, including a clothing container we purchased together. Dennis's protest, echoed by his parents about the necessity of dividing assets, was met with the stark reality of the home's rental status and its cost, a detail I had shared with Dennis at the outset of our marriage. The revelation that the rent was $3,000, coupled with the possibility of an increase due to its specialized accessibility features, left them stunned. This misunderstanding about the nature of the property we lived in underscored the broader miscommunications and miscalculations that had characterized our relationship, bringing to light the financial and emotional disconnect that had grown between us. After our separation, I swiftly received interest from individuals seeking a home that accommodated their specific needs, prompting me to advise Dennis and his parents to find a new place to live. Their surprise and dismay at being informed so late only highlighted their lack of preparation for the consequences of our split. Despite Dennis's threat of legal action, his financial situation made such a move implausible. When confronted with evidence of Dennis's reckless behavior, captured in photos I had discreetly taken, the reality of their precarious position became undeniable. His parents' shock at these revelations, coupled with Dennis's plea for reconciliation, underscored the desperation of their circumstances. The situation took a dramatic turn when Dennis revealed his family's impending homelessness due to the foreclosure of their property, a result of his father's accumulating debts. This revelation shed light on Dennis's earlier motivations for marriage, seeking financial stability rather than a partnership based on mutual respect and love. Despite their appeals, my decision was firm. The divorce had severed any obligation or desire to assist them further. Dennis's attempts to reclaim the furniture and electronics, under the guise of necessity, were transparent and futile. My refusal to acquiesce to his demands was final, emphasizing the importance of independence and self-reliance. The process of evicting them from the property, facilitated by the lease being in my name, was straightforward, marking a decisive end to our entanglement. As they faced the reality of finding new accommodation, Dennis's parting remarks reflected his bitterness and resentment. The freedom and dignity of living on one's terms, away from the constraints and conflicts of our failed marriage, were invaluable to me. The closure of this chapter allowed me to move forward, liberated from the burden of their dependency and deceit. After parting ways with Dennis and his parents, I moved on to a new chapter in my life at a luxury assisted living facility that I had purchased with my savings and investment earnings. This place, contrary to Dennis's derogatory assumptions, was a haven of luxury and convenience, valued at $3 million. It offered a perfect blend of independence and support, with doctors and assistants readily available and a living space that boasted privacy and comfort, akin to an apartment, complete with 3 bedrooms to accommodate families or couples. When Dennis unexpectedly appeared at the facility, his astonishment was evident. He couldn't believe the quality of life I had secured for myself, far from the crappy environment he had mocked. Despite our divorce and his evident desperation, now living in a motel and struggling for a job due to the lack of a stable address, his plea for reconciliation and to share in my newfound life was both audacious and transparent. His self-centeredness was unchanged, having seemingly forsaken his parents in his quest for personal comfort. In anticipation of Dennis's potential visit, whether to revel in what he assumed would be my misfortune or to seek assistance, I had the support of the facility's residents. They played a crucial role in showing Dennis the reality of his situation, observing our interaction with a mixture of curiosity and pity, further highlighting the absurdity of his actions. Dennis's embarrassment, under the watchful eyes of the community, led him to retreat, likely for good. This encounter reaffirmed my decision to sever ties and embrace the new life I had built. Meanwhile, running into Dennis's parents working in modest jobs only underscored the stark contrast between our paths since the divorce. Despite their circumstances, I chose to focus on the vibrant community I had become a part of, hosting gatherings and building friendships, especially with others who shared similar mobility challenges. This environment not only provided a supportive community, but also encouraged my personal growth, including attending physical therapy sessions to improve my mobility. My life is now a testament to independence, resilience, and the pursuit of happiness, far removed from the turmoil and dependency of my past with Dennis.